Hello and welcome to Bogle, brief overview of games lately experienced. First on the list is Transistor, released in 2014 by Supergiant Games, who are best known for Hades. It's a turn-based combat game with an optional real-time action. You're playing as a character called Red in a sci-fi/Matrix world heavily themed around coding. As with Hades, the music was great, the tunes were like a balsam to my ears and stood with me long after playing. Music was an integral part of it, the protagonist being a singer after all. When you enter a turn-based mode, the melody switches into this subdued humming. And they have a humming for every track as far as I could tell. It's a simple but unique touch that I really liked. The tune never stops, which makes it so you are constantly accompanied by this varied, beautiful array of melodies, giving it a sense of drive and rhythm. They also have a humming button, which is not all that interesting in itself, but helps to showcase the work they've done for those who missed it. The game is richly filled with nicely illustrated visuals and curiously designed characters, and there are a lot of parallels you can find in style with Hades. The way they've made the abilities was a very nice flex of the game design. Functions can be used as an active ability, but also can instead upgrade and change how other abilities work. This already creates so many combinations you'll need a mathematician to count it all up, but they also can be used as a passive, giving you yet another unique effect. And on top of all that, functions themselves are storytelling devices. Each one is a trace of a character with a background you can unlock by using the functions in different ways. It's just such a beautifully concise and organic piece of game design decision, it totally goes into my book. When I recall this game years past, this is what I will remember it for. Well, this and satisfaction of popping every mushroom I could find. No! How dare you? There's going to be one mushroom I can't get? Outrageous. Totally outrageous. There are two big downsides. First, the story is as straight as my face becomes when the main-splainer guy points out the terminals for me.
Terminal on the corner back there.
They start with an iron hand grip and this railroad trip continues till the end of the line. And even things that feel like side activities are also mandatory, as they cage you in a sandbox world and won't release you until you check out the tests. Just have some faith in your player base, we don't need to be led like a herd of sheep in a fenced tunnel. The second big downside is technical problems in battles. The game is positively filled with them to the brim. You just can't trust the interface, it's a pathological liar, and by the end of the game I just had to learn every inconsistency and avoid them to just be able to play in peace. Why doesn't it send it flying like it always does? Or it just doesn't show, because these guys are hurt for some reason.
We're tough. See? Real tough.
Yeah, it just didn't show again. Switch blocked? What do you mean? Like right next to it. Ah, okay. Just you and me, pal. Come on. They had an interesting take on difficulty switch. There are limiters you can enforce upon yourself to make it harder, but earn more XP. It's better than simple difficulty setting in the menu, but it also feels like self-flagellation. Ah, yeah, I want them to hit me twice as hard. Oh, shield those pesky cores so it's even more annoying for me to pick them up. Harder, daddy. Dreamlike tone and interesting world building kept me going, though the story has lost me halfway. When it became too unreal, I just stopped caring. It was part of the experience to mull over the setting and try to figure out what all those terms and events mean. They still leave a lot to interpretation, as it is art game's bread and butter, but I did reach a certain level of satisfactory clarity by the end. This looks like a dick. It's a good indie game with fantastic soundtrack, unique style and clever mechanics, and I gave Transistor 70 out of 100. From a publisher and a developer who both have a glyph in their logo comes Chants of Duolingo, released in 2023. It's a point-and-click puzzle game with a top-down, semi-fixed perspective. As a language learner, this puzzle game was right up my alley. You play as a wandering nobody with a notebook to their name and have to interpret languages from the ground zero, trying to figure out the meaning from people's conversations and environmental clues. You have the ability to enter your own wild guesses into the book, and whatever your monkey brain managed to come up with will appear in the sentences to your shame or satisfaction. What's the singular of pottery? Pot. Me sell pot. You want pot? Occasionally your character will doodle some concepts, and by connecting the glyphs to their meaning you'll get the true translation to the words. There are different exotic societies with their own language and culture, so the game manages to keep things exciting and fresh throughout most of the journey. The languages are designed thoughtfully and feel real, though for obvious reasons they are simplified. It was a delight to have epiphanies on peculiar grammar or spot patterns in the way how glyphs are drawn. They're not just some random scribble generated by a spasming hand of an artist, well, maybe one of them is, but they have a hard-set logic behind them, which makes it so much more immersive and interesting to figure it out. Visually it looks great. Whenever you don't have a big budget, always strike with a style. With these blocky structures, as if they were made out of children's toys, they've managed to deliver a distinct design with the oversaturated colors, great use of lighting, and well-placed perspectives. Weak points come from other activities. The stealth sections felt like an afterthought, very basic and mostly padding between the real fun. There were some other puzzles that are derivative and pretty much forgettable. It's minor weaknesses since those parts are extremely forgiving and small in number. There are minor problems with the book. Sometimes it can give away concepts too early or gives you a chance to brute force a word. But it's obvious that the game would have been too hard for general audience without it. Although I am very interested in trying out a brave game that would only allow you to rely on your own guesses. I wonder if you can make it work. It's a swift, affordable, and refreshing puzzle game, perfect for anyone who enjoys flex their brain muscle from time to time. And I'm giving Chants of Sennaar 77 pots out of 100. Our guy draws in a very interesting fashion. It's like a printing machine. Salve, friend! Next is The Forgotten City, released in 2021, based on a Skyrim mod with the same name, developed by Modern Storyteller as their debut project. I'll try to review it avoiding revealing anything, since the developers insist on it so nicely. It's a story-driven mystery game with dialogue and choices being the primary activity. So this is pretty strange. Like... The camera, it doesn't take into account anything. It's just like, oh, you stepped on this ladder, so we're gonna move your head immediately up. And just... It disappointed me on technical level. There are occasional freezes, frame drops, you can get stuck in the bumps on the road, and the game is filled with invisible walls in the most outrageous places. Oh my god, again. What? Why would you make it this way? Like, just throw a bunch of rocks if you don't want a person to go in? Like, what the hell? Oh. Why would you make this? Oh my god. I did enjoy the overall skeleton of the story, the plot points and reveals, as well as the setup of the main concept I can't talk about, are well made. This actually could be a phenomenal D&D one-shot material. My problem is with its delivery. 90% of your time will be spent on talking to characters, and as you might have noticed, their faces look like they have been injected with a half-liter of Botox. The whole experience goes by staring at these lifeless, paralyzed mugs incapable of producing the simplest emotion. No different camera angles, no gestures, no acting, no cinematography, just this plain mouth yapping all day, every day. What was the point of making a whole new game if you're going to just still stick to the Skyrim dialogue system as the medium? The dialogue is about average. For every sharp moment, you wade through 3 times as much fluff and padding. There are a bunch of generic game cliches that make the writing look amateur, like audio logs section, one hilariously self-important flashback, and plenty of over-explaining. But overall, it's not bad. My positive takeaway was learning some historically accurate tidbits about cultures of antiquity that I didn't know about or was blanking on, as well as the writer's take on the pantheon gods revealed at the end of the game. You might confuse this game for a puzzle, but it's not. You go around town exhausting dialogue options, and the quest log conveniently tells you exactly what to do and directs you exactly where to go with a marker, like a caring grandmother. Whenever you need to make a choice, right ones are pretty obvious and often the only new ones available, so it's not required from you to understand or come up with anything yourself. The most important choice you'll ever make is picking your background at the beginning of the game. I felt I was just there for a ride, pushing the story forward. There was one time when I had to fire a few neurons to get to the true ending, but sadly for the most of the game, brain need not apply. The Forgotten City felt like I was playing mod and not a finished product, writing the only thing propping up this crumbling mess from collapsing. I would recommend it only to people who completely adore storytelling and need a new dose of it. And I'm giving the Forgotten City 55 out of 100.